I never imagined that hiring a nanny would change the course of my life so profoundly. After the divorce, I was barely holding it all together, juggling a demanding full-time job while raising my lively, endlessly curious twin boys, Ethan and Noah. Every day felt like a marathon with no finish line, and I was exhausted in ways I didn't know how to explain. My world was noise, clutter, and the constant low hum of stress. When the agency first suggested a male nanny, I hesitated. It wasn't that I didn't think a man could do the job. It just wasn't what I envisioned. I imagined a nurturing older woman, someone maternal and seasoned. But desperation has a way of breaking down preconceived notions. I needed help. I needed someone. That someone turned out to be Jamal. From the moment Jamal stepped through my front door, the energy in our home shifted. He was tall and athletic, with a calming presence that somehow made the chaos around him seem manageable. His voice was soft and steady, his demeanor confident yet gentle. Ethan and Noah, who could be a handful on even the best days, instantly gravitated toward him. It was like watching a storm settle. In the weeks that followed, I watched Jamal with quiet amazement. He had a natural rhythm with the boys, navigating tantrums, coaxing them through mealtimes, transforming bedtime from a battleground into a peaceful ritual. He didn't just watch them. He connected with them, knelt down to their level, listened like every word mattered. I would sometimes find myself frozen in the hallway, quietly observing him as he read their favorite stories or helped them construct elaborate Lego kingdoms. And in those moments, I realized something strange. My home didn't feel quite so overwhelming anymore. Jamal didn't just bring stability to Ethan and Noah. He brought something to me too. Stillness. A warmth I hadn't felt in a very long time. Then came a Saturday that changed everything. The boys were with their grandparents, and I had finally carved out time to tackle the cluttered mess that was our garage. Old toys, half-broken scooters, bins of forgotten memories. It was all overdue for a purge. I was elbows deep in a box of action figures, trying to decide what to keep, when a voice behind me startled me out of my thoughts. "You need a hand with that." I jumped, hitting my head lightly on the edge of a shelf as I turned. There was Jamal, standing in the doorway with 2 iced coffees in a tray, wearing that familiar easy smile. "You scared me," I laughed, rubbing the spot on my head. "I thought you had the day off." "I was out running errands," he said, stepping inside. "Figured you might need a little fuel. You've been going non-stop lately." I accepted the coffee with a grateful smile, touched by the gesture in a way that surprised me. "You always seem to know when I'm running on empty." "That's part of the job, right?" he said with a playful shrug. "Keep the kids safe and make sure Mom doesn't crash." There was a flicker of something new in the air, something unspoken, not uncomfortable, but undeniable. As he helped me sort boxes and lift heavy bins, we fell into an easy rhythm. Really talked. About childhood memories, our favorite music, the unexpected turns life had taken. He told a story about building forts with his cousins, and I laughed harder than I had in weeks. There was a familiarity between us, the kind that doesn't come from time but from truth. As we wrapped up, I sat on a stool, tired but content. I sipped the last of my coffee, looked at the cleared floor, then looked at him. "You've been a lifesaver, Jamal," I said softly. "I don't know what I would have done without you." He met my gaze, eyes steady and sincere. "You're stronger than you think, Sarah. But I'm glad I could be here." Something shifted in that moment. Not romantic, not physical, just real. A current of feeling that hadn't been there before, or maybe had been there all along, waiting to be seen. But before anything more could be said, the garage door creaked open. It was my neighbor, stopping by to return a ladder. Jamal and I exchanged a glance, and just like that, the moment was folded away. Quiet, intact, but it stayed with me. In the days that followed, I found my thoughts drifting to Jamal more often than I cared to admit. He was always kind, always respectful, never crossing a line, but something had changed. I noticed the way our fingers would brush when we handed off a toy. How our eyes would meet and hold for a second too long. We never spoke about the shift, but it was there, lingering just beneath the surface. One night, after the boys were asleep and the house had quieted, he stayed behind to help clean up. As a thank you, I offered him dinner. We sat at the kitchen table long after the plates were cleared, just talking. He shared stories about growing up without a strong father figure and how that shaped his desire to work with kids, to be the kind of adult he never had. I told him about the weight of the divorce, the fear that I was failing my sons, the deep loneliness that lived in the corners of my heart. And when I cried, without shame, without hiding, he reached across the table and took my hand. "You're not alone, Sarah," he said gently. "You don't have to be." He didn't say it with romance. He said it with truth, with compassion, and it meant everything. We never spoke of it again, not directly. But after that night, something quiet and warm had taken root between us. A sense of understanding, of being seen. One evening in the park as we walked with the boys, Ethan looked up at me and said, "Mom, I think Jamal makes you happy. You smile more when he's around." Children have a way of cutting to the heart of things, don't they? I looked over at Jamal, who was pushing Noah on the swing. He glanced back at me then, and smiled like he'd heard Ethan's words too. No, this wasn't what I had planned when I hired a nanny. But maybe, just maybe, it was something better. A new chapter, born from coffee in the garage, a gentle voice, and a heart quietly learning to open again.